Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the third WisTech webinar for 2024. My name is Laura Plummer. I'm the statewide Assistive Technology Program Coordinator, and I'm very excited about today's topic about party planning and event hosting. And so we'll do a little bit of housekeeping before we kick it over to our fabulous speakers. So again, this training is brought to you by WisTech, Wisconsin's Assistive Technology Act program, and the Department of Health Services. And we are using the webinar platform today, which means that your cameras are off and you are automatically muted. You do have access to chat as well as to the Q&A section. So we do encourage questions throughout. We'll be kind of screening those, interjecting as needed, asking our speakers to answer those. So you can use chat or Q&A. This webinar is recorded and will be archived on the WisTech YouTube channel. It's usually up in about a week or two. And there will be free CEUs and CRC credits available. In order to get those, you will need to complete the survey that pops up either at the end of the webinar or is emailed to you tomorrow. And then those certificates are sent out within 30 days of this event. Aside from that, there will be a link to the materials in that survey as well as an incentive to complete the survey. We love to get your feedback and to get ideas for future trainings. So we have a sign language interpreter as well as live cart reporter, which you can access using the CC button at the end. So aside from that, I am going to kick us off, and I'm very excited to welcome my colleagues from the South. You'll notice a little accent. I'll let them do a little more introductions. But we've got Ashley I told you I'd mess this up. McLeroy and Nakisha Adams, and they are here from the great state of Alabama. So I will turn it over to them. Welcome and thank you.
Thank you so much. We're excited. We also love this topic. It was fun to put together. We had a lot of good conversations putting together the content for it. We lovingly called it Host with the Most to be cute and creative, but we felt like it was a very important topic to discuss how assistive technology can impact social inclusion. We'll start just by, let me get my slides up. Like Laura said, you're going to hear a little bit of an accent. So if you didn't hear something I said, didn't understand very well, let me know. Okay, so here we are. We're Host with the Most, and we're going to get started just by introducing ourselves. I'll let Nakisha get started.
My name is Nakisha Adams. I play soccer at the Lakeshore Foundation, and I'm currently a program assistant for Aptitude. In the past, I've done data entry at Red Mountain Parks and was a secretary at the Board of Education. I am currently working towards a career in public speaking.
And doing a great job, I think, at it. We've had a lot of fun. Nakisha's been with us for about a year now. And I'm Ashley McLeroy. I am the director of APT-AT, which is, we'll tell you in a second, is Alabama's Assistive Technology Act program. Prior to stepping into the role of director, I was a rehabilitation engineer at the Alabama Department of Rehabilitation Services for over 12 years and had a lot of fun doing that work. APT-AT is also a part of ADRS, and Nakisha will tell you just a brief bit of information about that program.
I'd like to let you know what our program Department AT is. It stands for Accessing Potential Through Assistive Technology. It is a program of the Alabama Department of Rehabilitation Services, which serves as the state's Assistive Technology Act program.
So we are striving to be the WisTech of the South. You guys each all have your own Assistive Technology Act program, and we thank you, WisTech, for hosting us. Before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that there was a Google Doc as part of the handouts that will list some of the devices and resources that we're talking about during today's webinar. So you do not have to try to frantically jot down the things that we're talking about. Hopefully it will be a good resource that you can use to click on the links to the products and find out more information. Laura did mention questions. We're happy to take those during the session if you have any, so just let us know. All right, so let's get started with social inclusion.
Now let's discuss why it's important to consider social inclusion.
And I do want to mention the adorable photo on the slide is some of our program staff. We were setting up our new demonstration center here in Birmingham, Alabama, and we did get the adapted Monopoly Junior game board. And so we were testing that out, and we have our assistive technology specialist, Jessica, and our other program assistant, Hank, and our, what would we call Ion? He is the program, he basically has become the program's support dog. He's our mascot. We were encouraging him to learn how to use switches to roll the dice, but he really generally just feels like his inclusion in our social gatherings is just for naps. So he was not impressed with pressing switches. Okay, Nakisha, let's talk about why social inclusion is important.
Consider the impact social inclusion has on a person with a disability. For one, there's improved mental health for individuals that actually enjoy socializing because they feel included. They're meeting new people, charging their social batteries, etc. It also allows for networking, which generates opportunities to build friendships or work connections. And it's also great because everyone can learn so much about others when they're around people with various abilities.
Yeah, and we really talked about that in a sense of the more you're learning about people with disabilities, the more you're able to interact, the more that decreases prejudice that occurs because of ignorance about disability. And that ultimately is a ripple effect that can even affect our occupational performance. So those of us who work in the service fields to support individuals with disabilities, the more that we are interacting with them in real life, not just clinical settings, the more that we recognize and learn about true barriers there are for social inclusion. And that leads into better performance on our jobs. It also helps us support those individuals better as well. Right. Nakisha, the comment was Laura loves that you stated who actually wants to socialize, since even Ion did not want to be social. And there are people that are introverts that have no desire to be social, and that's completely fine. So we're really focusing on those people who are extroverts. Is that you and I?
No.
We might drain Nakisha's social battery at times because we do have a couple of extroverts in our program. All right, so moving on.
Ashley. Can we talk about some fun stuff now?
I think that's a good idea. Let's talk about some fun stuff.
Hey, let's tell everyone some cool ideas we thought of for assistive technology that a person with a disability can use to host a party.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about assistive technology that the host can use. The photo on the slide is actually a photo reel, basically from an event that we went to. That's one of my best friends who also used to work for our agency, and she's in a crown and some cute glasses. I have a feather boa, and that is my introvert husband standing behind us in a pink cowgirl hat. And we definitely drained his social battery that night, but we had a lot of fun at the event. Okay, so we broke this down to make it a little bit easier to narrow down some of the technology that can be used. We broke it down into 3 different stages for the party. And we'll talk about assistive technology that can be used by the host for planning the party, setting up the party, as well as what is that other one? Hosting the party. And I just want to put in a disclaimer that these are brain teasers only, and it's in no way a comprehensive list of devices, or is not meant to limit the use of other cool stuff that you can use during parties. So we'll get started with that. All right, you're going to tell us about managing tasks.
Have to plan the party first, right? So if you're an individual that struggles with task management, we suggest using AT to help you think through all the things that need to get done. You can download and print out a party checklist. There are several online for different types of parties, and they've done all the work to think about the tasks, and they've formatted it into a neat checklist. You could also use a checklist app, which Ashley will give you an example of in a moment. You could also set up reminders on your smart devices. For example, you can say, Alexa, remind me to order a karaoke machine.
I was waiting because our Alexa was listening as she was saying that.
Oh,
We use that particular device. I'm not going to say her name. We use it all the time here in this program. We think of something, oh, that's really cool, we should add that to the inventory, and we'll ask her to add it to our list of reminders to order one. Okay, so using the checklist example, I was kind of surprised. I did not know this was a feature until earlier this year. And so I want to share it. You can use collaboration with the Notes app on iOS. And the way that you do that is you create a note, a new note. At the top, you select share, and then it'll pull up a list of your contacts, and you can select the person that you want to collaborate with. Now, once you're working on that shared list, you can create a checklist. So go down to the bottom, select the checklist option. Now that it's a shared note between you and whoever your party team is, everyone can see the changes that are being made instantly, which is really nice because it's truly a synced way to keep a list. And you can also assign an individual to a task. So if you're a really good delegator, you can reduce some of the responsibility that you have to host the party. So if there's someone in particular that you would like to be responsible for something like ordering the bubble machine, you would use the @ symbol and type in their name, and that will assign that to them. It also sends them a notification that they have been tagged in that note. And then as they're going through getting things done, they can check it off as well. You guys can add, delete, do whatever you need to do to make that list. So it's very helpful when you're planning an event with multiple individuals and you need to relieve some of those responsibilities. It's very helpful to use something like this. Obviously, notes on iOS is not the only option out there. So just know that that's a suggestion for just helping keep up with tasks. Okay, another thing about that we can use for planning the party is keeping up with have to send hard copy invitations anymore, which were a lot of work because you would have to get them printed. If you really want to go big, you'd have to get them designed, get a bunch of copies printed, wait for those to come in, then handwrite all your addresses or put it into the computer and print them all out and get mad because your envelope's printed in the wrong direction. And now that's not a thing. So you can use digital invites on different apps or social media. A lot of people are just moving towards creating an event on social media and sending out invites that way. I really like that feature because I like to see who's going to the event. It helps my social anxiety a little bit if I already know who's accepted and RSVP'd as going. I really like that feature. And this also doesn't cost anything for the host to invite via social media. We also found this app called the Hub app, which is really cool because it will manage your RSVPs. You can put in polls about the event that will let people vote. So if you're trying to decide, do you want to have a burger bar or a baked potato bar, you could put that in a poll and let people vote. If you're trying to decide on activities or locations and things like that, it's really cool. And then you can also post event details and give updates on what's happening during the event leading up. And it's going to help you manage who's coming and who's not going. So I think you had a comment about that.
And I just sent out a group chat on Messenger.
Y'all just use group chat, and that's perfectly great. One of the things that we wanted to, or a couple of things that we wanted to mention, if you are going to use group chats, that does tend to be a less formal way to have an invite, but it works really well for smaller social events. We want you to consider what kind of technology your guests have access to, because Android devices don't play so nice with group text, and that can be kind of frustrating. And there's also some other communication and group text apps that would be a good option, like GroupMe or WhatsApp, or even the social media messengers might be a good way to do group text and avoid some of the issues that happen when you're trying to do a group with iOS and Android phones. The question about the Hub app, does that work well with screen readers? We need to double check that. That is a really good question, and I'm going to make a note to double check the accessibility with screen readers on that app. I haven't gone through completely to double check it with a screen reader. So thank you for bringing that up. Okay, so moving on to planning the party and getting your supplies. So we've used the Notes app to create a task list, and now we've really got to think about food, because in the South, we don't have any event without a very healthy serving of dishes, buffet style, potluck style, all the goods are going to be there. And that can be really overwhelming to try to keep up with all the groceries that you've got to order for the party. One of my favorite apps is Our Groceries, and I'll give you a better overview on the next slide. So the Samsung Food Meal Planning app is also a really cool one. And let me see if I can get that pulled up quickly enough. So you can actually, yes.
Ashley, this is Laura. As you pull that, go ahead and pull it up. I was just going to share on Our Groceries. I actually use that similar to how you described the notes. So I've been using that for years as a way to share. Like I'll use it not only for groceries, but maybe it's like my Home Depot or Menards shopping list, or I need to remember to do this when I'm, at my friend's house or my parents' house. But it's funny because I'll be at the store and I'll remember my list, and then I look back at it and suddenly there's 3 more things on that list because my husband has populated that list with additional things, like while I'm there at the store, like, oh, she needs to get that. So it's great.
Yes. Same. We use it all the time between my husband and I for that exact reason, because everyone can add to the list. So recently I found this, it used to be called the Whisk app. It's also available, it's all synced online, but then there's iOS and Android app compatible apps. And I really love this because you can go through just like Pinterest and you can find recipes and you save those to your little recipe box on the app or online. And you can even, once you are trying to create the meals that you're going to have for that week, you can use their meal planner and add different meals for breakfast, lunch, snack, and dinners. As long as those recipes are in your recipe box and you then move them over to your planner and they have all the ingredients listed, then you can export or create a grocery list from your meal plan. So it'll compile all the ingredients for that week into one grocery list. And it's actually quite intuitive because it will take, like, if there's 3 recipes that have 1 pound of chicken on the recipe, it will actually compile that and just tell you that you need 3 pounds of chicken. So that's really nice because sometimes those lists will just tell you 3 separate times that you need chicken. So I really like that feature. And I even have a smart oven now that will show me a recipe and then ask if I want to add it to my list, which is really cool. So I really like that Samsung. It's called Samsung Food now. It used to be called Whisk, if you've ever used that. Personally, I have a neuromuscular disorder, and it makes it really difficult for me to walk long distances. So grocery shopping used to really take a toll on my energy and my pain tolerance. I absolutely love pickup and grocery delivery services and use that as my accommodation now. I feel like I've gotten my weekends back because I use Kroger delivery. I just create my list on the Kroger app, order it, and it shows up usually on Saturday mornings. And I did not have to just spend 2 hours going to the grocery store and then not feel like there's anything else I can do. So I would highly consider looking into options like that in your local areas to see. A lot of these services have gotten relatively inexpensive on the delivery fees, especially when it comes directly from the source and it's not a third party grocery shopping service. So really look into that and, think about the value of your body, the value of your time. And so if you don't normally use delivery service for shopping, but you've got this big event and you really need to conserve as much of your energy and time as possible, then consider if that $7 delivery fee is really worth what it can save for your body to be able to not have to go grocery shopping. So I really love that. And the graphic on the slide is actually AI generated. It's really cute. It's AI generated through Canva. And I asked for it to create a grocery shopping delivery truck. And so it looks like a truck, and the back of the truck is actually a grocery bag that's overflowing with different vegetables and fruits and things. It's really adorable. Another thing that you can do is shop with your voice. So there are a couple of applications that are synced to grocery stores. So for instance, you can use your Amazon account or your Whole Foods account with Alexa. So you can actually ask her to add something to your list or order something from that store and just do it completely hands-free. You can just say, Alexa, order cereal, my cereal from Whole Foods, and it'll order it for you. We also found that there's an option through Siri or Google Assistant where you can do Walmart voice. So you can actually order by voice from Walmart and have things ordered and delivered for you. While you're shopping, we thought that it could be beneficial if you have difficulty reading labels, whether that's from vision loss or a reading disability. There are options out there to help you read the labels so that you know what you're picking up. So you could use an application like Ira or Seeing AI to read labels and understand what you're picking up and shopping and purchasing. Seeing AI is free, and we do love that app is free and available and pretty accurate in what it reads. So our groceries app. I do love this app, like Laura was saying. It has been so useful to my husband and I because it can sync between devices. So we can both add and remove items from the list. Another really neat thing about it is once you have a list created, which you can create a list that is specifically for a store. So then once you've got that store in there as that list, you can then organize all the items by aisle. And that will help because if someone's going shopping physically in the store and they're in the baking aisle, they can look through the list that's specifically for baking aisle and make sure that before they leave that aisle, they've retrieved all the items from that area. And I know in the past, before we used a grocery shopping app and before we started using grocery delivery, we were walking all over the store because we'd say, oh, we forgot to get this item that was an aisle that's 3, 6, 12 aisles down the store. And so we loved that we could check the list to say, have we gotten everything? It also teaches someone, like Laura mentioned, it helps teach independence. So if you've got someone that's learning to shop independently, they can add things to the list. They can think through what ingredients and items that they need, and then they can even shop and navigate the store and read from that list. You can also add pictures and descriptions to the list. So the pictures are little, but when you click on them, they can get a little bit bigger. So you can add a picture of the actual product that you're looking for. So I don't know if y'all have had Dolly Parton's brownie mix, but it is good. So that is the one we want. So that is the picture that we added to the Our Groceries app. And that way, if you have someone that's going to the store and shopping for another individual, they actually can see that specific brand that the individual is requesting. And then the descriptions. So I know sometimes it was difficult because, my husband would be the one that would stop by the store because he's physically more capable of getting around a grocery store. So he would be the one that would stop and pick up quickly what we needed. And he would say, you had chicken on the list, but I didn't know how much to get. I didn't know how much we needed. And did we need thighs or chicken breast or whatever? So you can actually put those descriptions in there as well to specify the quantity and the specific type that is needed. You can also ask your smart home devices, your smart speakers, to add items to your shopping list. So you can, or Siri, so you can say things like, hey, Alexa, will you ask Our Groceries to add pepper jack cheese to our list? And she will do that. And then, like we said, you can sync the list with your friends and family. So that's really nice. And Laura, you're right. It is really nice to have a great organized application and grocery list when the store has absolutely no organization method whatsoever. That's really helpful on their part to disorganize the store, just to, we overcome one barrier and they just want to make sure that we're strong and can overcome other barriers.
This is Laura. Yeah, it's that cognitive flexibility we need when the crackers used to be here. And
Yes.
now where did they put them?
Yes. It is strengthening our skills to overcome those other barriers. Okay. So we've gotten our food. We created our grocery list. We shop. We have all of our ingredients. Now it's time to prep the food. And we didn't go into too much detail on kitchen tools because there are tons and tons and tons of adapted kitchen tools available. So we did a quick little video that compilation to just show what types of adapted tools we use to create a pizza. There are some slight sound effects. So we used a lid opener to open the jar. I have a good model here with my husband creating the pizza. We used a slicer to slice up the olives, so it slices up in one quick go. We've got a smart oven and a rack puller to pull the oven rack out. And then we used pizza scissors to cut. So those individuals that have a little more difficulty in balancing a rolling pizza cutter or a sharp knife, those pizza scissors are a little bit easier to cut through the pizza. And microwaves. I love my smart oven a lot, and they're very helpful for individuals who struggle to remember how long to cook something. There are settings in there where you can save settings on, if I want to roast a chicken, then this is what it needs to be, the temperature needs to be set on, and this is how long it needs to cook. But the ovens also come pre-programmed with some of those options. So in the video, I have the French door oven. That's a smart oven. And I can go to the setting for roasting meats or roasting vegetables, your favorite. She loves vegetables. and we just hit that button and it'll automatically start preheating the oven. It'll give us instructions on which rack to put the pan on, and it'll automatically cook it for that amount of time. So it's really nice. It takes the thinking out of, and the memory side out of having to remember how to cook certain types of meals. Microwaves, there's lots of smart microwaves that you can actually scan the barcode of like a frozen meal. So if it's difficult to read the instructions, you can scan the barcode. It'll send the time and instructions to the microwave, and you'll just pop it in there and hit start, and it'll microwave it for you. Another thing that I love about my smart oven is it saves me energy, because if I need to preheat something, if I need to preheat the oven to cook something, I don't have to get up and go to the kitchen to start the oven. I can do it through my app, my Samsung app, or I can even tell my smart speaker to preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a really nice feature as well. And I like in particular, I love my French door ovens because I don't have to lean down. It's installed about chest height, so I'm not having to bend over to get something heavy out of the oven. And I don't have to reach over the door that will fold down. I can get right up close, so I have more stability when I'm getting things out of the oven. There's also a variety of programmable cookers that are usually countertop style appliances that you can put food in. There's even some that are really cool. I think we have a couple of options on the resource guide that you can even put it in there and it'll refrigerate it until the scheduled time to start cooking, and then it'll heat up and actually cook the dish for you. So that takes some of the cognitive load out of remembering to cook something. And that's really nice, but I think they're fairly expensive. But there are some, as technology is evolving, it is getting a little bit easier to invest in those really cool appliances. Yes, Laura's comment is that air fryers are great and can be safer than reaching and pulling from an oven. I completely agree with that. I think air fryers, they're definitely safer than a deep fryer, first of all, but they've also made it fairly easy for people who struggled with cooking before. Air fryers are very straightforward. And so it's been easier for individuals to get into cooking that had not before. And they can just pop something in the air fryer, pull it out, especially the bucket style that keeps you from having to touch anything hot. And it's got a nice little handle. You can just pull the bucket out and then dump it on your plate. That's really nice. They don't make as big of a mess either that you have to clean up. I love countertop style appliances for those with mobility difficulties that would have trouble reaching into a large hot appliance. Even toaster ovens are really great for that. This is a little bit safer to get things out. Even electric skillets that can sit on an appropriate height counter or table that somebody can reach a little bit easier than a stovetop, which can sometimes be too tall and too high for somebody. And it's easier to control the temperature of an electric skillet.
Yeah, this is Laura. WisTech just added induction cookers to each of our program partner lending libraries for that reason, because and we've been doing a project with our aging and disability resource centers. So we have a lot of participants who need accessible kitchen access, but they're in apartments. And so we've been utilizing recommendations such as the air fryer and induction cooktop because we can't always make that stovetop or that oven accessible for someone.
I love that. I actually need to add some of those things to our library and demo center. So I'll be looking into that. I might get some suggestions. I might ask for some suggestions on those induction cookers that you've purchased. Because I agree, induction cooktops are so much safer than the other options. So we also thought, of course, about a ways we love our smart speakers and things like that, but the smart displays. So a smart display is the options that actually have a screen on them, and those are great because they have a camera incorporated into the device. Those are really great for getting recipe instructions and reading labels. So you can actually ask, what am I holding? And it'll tell you what the product is. You can say something like, show me a recipe for baked apples. And it'll pull a couple of options from the internet. It'll show you like recipe 1, 2, 3. One might be from Food Network. One might be from Baked Apples Galore. And you can say, show me recipe number 2. And then once that recipe pops up, if you want to physically scroll through the screen, you can read through the recipe, or you can say, walk me through that recipe now. And the device will start by telling you the ingredients list, and then it'll go step by step through the recipe. This is what you need to do in step 1. And then you can say, okay, move on to the next step. And it'll walk you through step by step how to do that recipe. And so that's really great for individuals that struggle to follow printed recipes or need that recipe read aloud and kind of need to feel less anxiety about making it all the way through cooking a recipe. I say all that, but I think Nakisha has something to add.
Tell people to bring their own food because I'm not doing all that cooking.
She's not doing all that cooking. she's smart, and she just says, I just tell everybody to bring whatever they want to eat. BYOF. Elizabeth says, same, Nakisha, same. Okay. So next we're going to talk about cleaning up and setup.
Always nice to have a clean house for your party guests to come and destroy. Cleaning up before a party can be overwhelming, so we suggest using AT to break down everything that has to be done, and you can even use smart devices to schedule tasks leading up to the event. For example, use your reminders app and schedule one cleaning reminder each day. You can also set up a smart home routine, especially for the day of. For example, set up a routine so that when you say, Alexa, get ready for party, she will start vacuuming. After vacuuming, she will mop. And then after a set amount of time, she can adjust the thermostat or lighting.
Yeah, that's some really good suggestions. So we actually have just a quick little video, and it just shows how you can use a communication device to control. So he's using his communication device to speak to Alexa to ask her to vacuum. And we just wanted to show how that can be a system of assistive technology that works together to make it a little bit easier to accomplish the tasks that you're trying to accomplish. Let me see. Laura had a comment. Nakisha, your Alexa does all that?
No.
She grows legs and just does.
Yeah.
I do have my mine set up to do a lot of routines at home to help us like get ready for bed and turn all the lights off and all that cool stuff. So it's really helpful to do routines on your smart device setups. Okay. Next, we will talk about decorating.
I have some ideas of things that can make decorating a little easier. To start, moving things around can be difficult or fatiguing for some, so using a car to transport items can help reduce strain and the number of trips a person has to take. It's also helpful to use clear command hooks to hang decor on, because sometimes you can just leave it up and hang decor on it for different seasons or other parties. There's also a lot of cool projector systems now that can just project images or lights on surfaces. Saves a lot of time putting up decorations, and it can be fun and interactive with music. Or you can even use smart light bulbs and lamps and adjust the colors of the light for your party theme. Also play music from smart speakers just by asking for a certain station or genre. It's easy to schedule as part of a routine, so you don't forget to start the music. And finally, you can use your smart TV to display a graphic. A lot of people will go to the YouTube app on their TV and search for still art or a video. You can also find a graphic or create a graphic and cast it to the TV.
Yeah, and we will show some other cool ways to decorate too. Now, we will towards the end, we're going to talk about event accessibility. And so we'll talk about how important it is to consider the lighting and sound and how that affects your guest. So we recommend these as options to help the host decorate easier using technology, but there needs to be a good balance, and you need to consider not using sound or lighting that's going to negatively impact your guests. So we just wanted to make that comment. All right, so for some party hosts, it can cause some anxiety to try to come up with games and activities and make sure that your guests are having a good time when they come to your event. So it might be something that you can think ahead on and prepare some conversation starters. So you could have cards on the table that have conversation starters that can help alleviate some of the stress during the event. Especially if you're mixing people from different parts of your network and you're worried about them knowing what to talk about and helping them. So you could come up with some conversation starters ahead of time, put them on cards, or you could use higher tech, and ask your smart speaker to provide an icebreaker. And so you can look at different skills that are on those devices and see which one have icebreaker skills or a skill that has icebreakers that are relevant to your party, to your group of individuals that are coming. I did have I did try out one icebreaker app, which was interesting because the first question it put out was about politics. And I thought, oh no, we're always told you don't do that. And here the conversation started with that. I was like, ouch, we're not using that one. Another option that would just be a cool option is to use a multi-level communicator, like a step-by-step, and have pre-programmed questions in that people can walk through on a step-by-step message communicator. And I just love that because it's introducing that technology to other people who may never have been exposed to using a communicator like that, a message recorded communicator. And so I love that people can see that it doesn't have to be specific for this field. And people that are not able to communicate, it can be used as an accommodation in other ways as well. It's also really nice as the host not to have to keep up with the games and try to keep the games running and moving, all the activities, because that's exhausting. You've got a lot of other things that you've got to do during a larger event. And so you could place games and cards out so your guests know that they can initiate those board games or play cards or things like that. You can also set up your smart device with a game. And the example that we give is actually a game that my husband and I bought for Dirty Santa this year for our families get together, and it's called Pictionary Air 2. It's a really cool game that you use two smart devices. You have one that's set up as a camera that you can screencast to the TV, and then you have another one that's set up as the drawing prompt. So that the participant will look at the drawing prompt, use the Bluetooth pencil to start drawing what their prompt is. That is casted to the TV, so then everyone can participate and guess what the person is drawing. And so it's really fun. Elizabeth, Dirty Santa. Is that a Southern thing? I don't know. It is a Southern thing. Okay.
This is Laura. I don't know either. So please.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize. Thank you for asking. I think some other people might call it white elephant. It's where now in the South, white elephant generally is where you bring something from your home that you don't want anymore. And then you all have like numbers you pick and you go grab a gift, you open it, and then other people can steal. Dirty Santa is like we actually go buy gifts, and it's all mixed together. Everybody gets a number, you go in order of the numbers to go pick a gift, you open it, and then the next person can steal from you or open a new gift. So it's white elephant, but we call it Dirty Santa because you're being dirty when you're stealing gifts. It can get pretty aggressive. You play Dirty Santa? Yeah.
This is Laura. I think, some of our white elephant gets mixed in like that where you can steal. So
yeah,
my goal is always pick out the best looking gift bag, because regardless of what's in it, that means at least I can reuse a really good bag.
That is smart.
Yeah.
Some people are not very good at picking out gifts. So that's the thing that's not so fun about those games is when you put a lot of thought into it and then you end up getting like a gift that you'll never use. It's probably going to get regifted. At least, hey, you have a gift that you can pass on, and it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Not like the Jelly of the Month Club, though. I've never gotten that. That'd be fun. Okay. So the next thing that we were going to talk about is for party hosting and just having an activity that everyone can participate in. you can screencast party photos to the TV, and that just makes it really fun. It makes everybody feel like they're a part of the event. You can create a photo album on your smart device, play that as a slideshow, and cast that to your TV with however your technology streams to your TV. But I also found this really cool app called the Party Meister app, and you can create an event on the app, and then it'll stream to your TV. It'll cast to your TV. Then there's a little QR code at the bottom of the screen so that your guests can join that event within the app. And they'll add photos to the album, and it'll play through, do a slideshow of the photos that people are adding. And you can customize the background. There is a free version. I think it allows up to 10 guests to join the event and add photos, but the paid versions are not very expensive, and you would have unlimited guests, and you can customize the background of your event and everything. The photo that is there tells you probably why I have the personality that I have. That is at Christmas, and my parents dressed up as Aunt Bethany and I can't remember the uncle's name from Christmas Vacation. So my dad is in this terrible gray wig and atrocious gray eyebrows that look like caterpillars. And he's got a cat, because remember Aunt Bethany, she accidentally wrapped her cat for the event. And then my mom's dressed up like Aunt Bethany with a green Jello cake. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible, but I had to use that photo. You can also set up these interactive photo booths. They're very popular. It's fairly easy to set up a photo booth. You could use lighting background, like the projector backgrounds. You could use a screen background. There's all kinds that you can order. They're not that expensive, and then have props for everyone to use for the photos. But the problem is somebody usually has to be available to take photos, and you don't want, as the host, to have to continuously keep up with having to stop and make sure somebody's photo gets taken or log back into your device. So you could actually set up the phone, first of all, so that it doesn't cut off or sleep, and then have instructions for people to know how to use their voice to activate taking photos. So in iOS accessibility, when you turn on voice control, you can tell it to take photo, and it will take that photo by voice. So you could have your phone set up on a tripod where it doesn't go to sleep, and then have little instructions that just say, take photo, or for your guests to say that. And then they won't need anyone to stand there and take their photos, which is really nice. You can also have a Bluetooth button available so that it's connected, and they can just grab that button and just take photos and enjoy and have fun with it. Does anybody else use any other kinds of cool ways to take photos on their phone or on a device? It's also good if you have a device that can hold a lot of storage. So we shouldn't use mine. We shouldn't use my phone, because my phone's always out of storage. You use okay, so Catherine uses her watch as a remote to take photos. That's really cool. I don't have is it an Apple Watch, or is it a different type of smartwatch? Yeah, Apple Watch. I don't have one. I need to get one so I can try. You do need an Apple Watch, Nakisha.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would help a lot to take photos. That's cool. I like that. I'm gonna write that down. Y'all have given me some good ideas. So the idea is just for the hosting is to not have the host try to run around with like a chicken with their head cut off, trying to manage all the things during the event to make a lot of it as seamless as possible, and where it can run independent of the host. That's going to be very helpful. It's going to reduce anxiety during the event. It's going to help even your guests who have anxiety to just feel like they can participate in something. Maybe they're not so great with conversations, and so you've got activities for them to participate in to make that flow a lot easier. Okay, ready to move on? Let's go. Thanks for coming, Monica.
Of being a good party host is knowing how to consider accessibility for your guest. So let's talk about increasing event accessibility, because it's just not talked about enough.
It really isn't talked about enough. And unfortunately, that means a lot of people with disabilities just don't get invited to events because the hosts don't understand how to make the event accessible, and they just think, oh, well, they probably wouldn't come anyway. That's just an assumption. And so we'd really like to overcome that stereotype and talk about some ways to make the event more accessible. But first, we'll just address quickly the term visitability. So, to be honest, I've been in this field a while. I thought visitability meant a lot more than it does. When I looked it up, it says that visitability means that your home, your event space in this particular topic, has at least one 0-step entrance. It has doors with 32 inches of clear passage space. So that would be the doors that the individual needs to access the event space. And one bathroom on the main floor that is accessible to a wheelchair. That's it. That's all they say that you need for your home, your space, to be visitable. That's not really enough, is it? I think that we have another question too, but really it's kind of frustrating because when I was looking it up, I thought, well, I mean, we can just say some more things to make your space more visitable, but the websites that are promoting visitability clearly want you to only focus on these three things. They feel like if you talk about more, that it's going to disrupt the definition of visitability. So that's fine, but we can make it visitable. But what does that mean?
Who does visitability benefit?
Visitability is great. Who does it benefit? It really benefits everyone. So the photo that we have here is an individual that's pushing a stroller with a child in it. That would be very difficult for her to show up at your house and try to get the stroller, or your event and try to get a stroller up steps, or through doorways that are not wide enough. And so really and truly visitability benefits everyone, but it's still not enough. So we want to talk about some other things. We have a video, and I want to ask, what's the matter here? So we're going to play this video, and if you're able to follow, I'd like some input on all the things that we did wrong when we hosted this in-office party, besides having a party in the office. What else did we do wrong? Man, oh man. What did we do wrong here besides playing Spice Girls? I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Spice Girls are great for certain occasions. Well, I can start the conversation here. First of all, we had a very crowded space. We happened to have a lot of deliveries that day. We had boxes in the way. It made it very difficult for our guests to navigate the space. Several people are mentioning that the table is too high. That is true. We had only a standing height table available, which made it difficult for those who were seated. Yes, too much furniture. The lighting, yes, the lighting is a big one. So we had flashing lights going. We had very dim overhead lighting, which makes it difficult for people to navigate. And then we had the flashing light occurring at the same time. Looks really cool to some people, but it can be very disorienting to others. Also, we had loud music, yes. We have people who are using augmentative communication devices, which means they likely cannot be heard. If you have hearing loss, it can be difficult to hear over that loud background music. What else did we have? Any other comments? It's the table, yes. Too much furniture. Go in the wrong direction. It's very cluttered. Yeah, that's lack of organization on our part. We also did not serve beverages in a way that was inclusive for all of our guests. So it was very easy to drop the cups. There was invisible liquid spilled on the floor, which meant that we could possibly cause injury if someone slipped on that. Anything else? I think that's pretty good. I'm having trouble just navigating the chat box. So, yep, that's great. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, we did it all wrong here. it was really bad. Okay. So Nakisha, you wanted, well, I'll get started with this one. Just getting into an event space. So let's talk about event accessibility, just getting in. If you are hosting the event at your home and your home has steps, what are your options? So there are portable ramps available that you can use, and those are really good options when you have less than a few steps. I have seen some very dangerous scenarios where people used a portable ramp, like a 6-foot ramp, on 4 to 5 steps, and it gets too steep. It can be very unsafe if you're going more than a couple of steps. So just take that into consideration. But it is nice to have a portable ramp available when you have a couple of steps, so that anybody can access your home. It even helps when somebody's delivering furniture or a large package to be able to have an option to put that ramp out and let them use their hand truck to get products in, or even strollers. Or I use a cart a lot of times when I'm carrying a lot of stuff to an event. I'll use one of those rolling wagon carts. And so that would be awesome if I showed up and there was a ramp there for me to get that cart up. If the portable ramp is just going to be impossible or too unsafe for an individual to access the inside, there's products out there that can help get an individual who uses a wheelchair or who has difficulty going upstairs, getting them up. So there's a device called the lift car, and there's two options that you can do. You can have a lift car where the person transfers from their mobility device, or if they're ambulatory, but they need to sit down to walk up the stairs. There's two options. You have one that has a seat on it, and then there's one where you can actually connect it to the wheelchair itself and it locks on, and then you can pull the wheelchair or the person up. It has wheels that navigate the steps, and it helps get that person up safely. Now, you would have to have someone assist that is physically capable of navigating stairs backwards, who has the upper body strength to lean that lift car back to go up and down the stairs. As an individual with a mobility disability, I would not be the person in charge of using the lift car to get my guest up and down the stairs, but we would make sure that we had someone that was physically capable to do that. So there are barriers to both of those
Disability
two.
benefit.
And another option that's not so great, but it can still make sure that that person can be included in the event, is consulting with that individual to find out, would they be okay if there's no other option, if there's a lift team that can get them into the home. So if there's a couple of trusted friends or family members that they would be okay with actually picking them up and getting them into the home, just have that conversation. Ask them first. Don't assume that that's what they're going to be okay doing, because it can cause injury if it's not done correctly or safely. But then also, some people don't want to be touched, and they especially that's a very intimate way to have to be held by someone and carried up, and it can cause a lot of anxiety for someone that has been dropped before or injured in other transfer methods. It's an option, but don't rely on that option. And if you're having to remove that person from their mobility device to get them into the home, if it's not a mobility device like a manual wheelchair that you can also take up the stairs so that they can navigate independently once they're in the home, ask what type of transport chair or wheelchair or chair that they need to sit in when they get inside, because you want to make sure that you don't just bring them inside and sit them down in one spot in the home, and now that's where they're stuck for the whole event. So just take that into consideration. What can they use once they get inside if you are not able to get like a power chair up the stairs? And then finally, consider moving the location. If your home is not going to be accessible in the main entryway, is there an outdoor area with a garage that you can use instead? Consider the bathroom situation though, because you want to make sure if that person needs to have access to a restroom that they can get to it. And if that's the case, if the outdoor area, the garage area is not going to be suitable, it's not going to have those visitability standards that we would like to see, consider looking at a community center or someone else's home to see if they have those features that we're looking for. And I think you had a comment on getting in the home.
Friend in my first floor apartment that has one step up into their home, and they built a small ramp for me to get my wheelchair inside.
So your friends, did they build a permanent ramp? So they have one step up into their apartment and they built a permanent ramp so that Nakisha can visit as often as you want to. And you have access, you can go in with your wheelchair and you have access to the home. And we did have a comment that was really great. This person says when they were in an accident and needed a wheelchair suddenly, they were able to use the lid from farm machinery shipping crate, drilled over an existing stair to make an accessible ramp in their garage. And they used non-slide slip tape on it. The lid was free from a local farm implement dealer, and the neighbor installed it. And that was kind of like a last minute thing because they needed access during a holiday weekend, and you couldn't get something somewhere else to buy or rent or borrow a ramp. And that's very creative, and I'm really glad that y'all came up with that solution for that. Another thing that we wanted to mention is to also consider what the parking situation is at your event. It can be really frustrating if you pull up to an event and cars are parked every which way, and you're going to have to park down on the street and it's a steep driveway, or you've got to walk through rough terrain, or you got to get your wheelchair through rough terrain. So consider if you have a guest who has an accessible van, they use a mobility device, they have difficulty getting into the event space, reserving some spots for them or reminding them that if they come early, that there would be a spot closer to the home. One of the things that we do with my family, because my dad has mobility difficulties as well, is my husband and I will pull his truck out of the garage, and then that is where my parents will pull in and park and get out so that it's much closer to the door. So we make that spot available for them. And also provide lighting. So I've been to family events where it's very, very dark out in the yard, and we pull up, we park, and I literally have to stand by my door until my husband can come around and guide me because I'm so unstable. I need to be able to see where I'm stepping, and I can't walk through the grass safely enough, especially when it's dark. And so he'll come around and support me in getting to the house. And lighting can be a major issue for those that have low vision or have anxiety about being able to see things. So provide lighting, even if it's temporary, but there's plenty of options for solar lights that you can put around your walkways and other things, and lighting would look really nice for an event anyway.
And Ashley, this is Laura. I'll just also chime in something you may not have to be as concerned with. But you also need to just think about the snow and ice and creating a safe path of travel from wherever someone is parking at any given time in Wisconsin based on our weather. So just keeping that in mind as well.
Y'all actually go places when it snows?
We wouldn't leave the house otherwise.
Yeah, in Alabama, it just shuts down. We don't go anywhere. We cancel everything when it snows. So that's really good input, because a lot of you are from the northern areas, and so you've got to deal with snow and ice, and that can be very unsafe to walk on. Yeah, we don't go anywhere, do we, Nakisha? No, there's because not a single place that we can go to is safe and ice-free if it snows. We're not prepared. All right. I think you're going to tell us about making those spaces accessible.
Important to consider how someone will need to move around in the space. I provided a photo of my living room to give you an example of an open floor space that gives a wheelchair enough room to turn around and maneuver. Make sure there's space for mobility device, but this topic isn't just for mobility devices, because even people with low vision may need things moved out of the way to prevent injury. When I go to parties, I have some strong friends that will move furniture if needed, but I can guarantee this power chair has no issue moving your couch out of the way if you don't.
She'll just move it herself.
Also need to reduce fall risk. Things like rugs, animals, and cords can easily trip people or get caught in wheelchairs. It's highly suggested to pick up things you don't want to run over.
Yeah, I personally do not enjoy events where I'm constantly having to be careful of where I'm walking. So, rugs cause trip hazards and they're beautiful. And I'm really glad that everyone loves them so much. Sometimes they're practical. Sometimes people do need their rugs, but it's exhausting when the floor elevations are constantly changing and I'm trying not to trip and twist my ankles or catch my toes and trip myself on the way the floor changes. If there's rugs or cords, we make sure when my dad comes over that we um, get our pug and hold her because she gets so excited that Pappy's home. That Pappy came to her house, that she gets really excited and she wants to run and go see him. And he needs to be able to get in the door safely and seated where he wants to sit, and then she can go visit him. So just keep that in mind. Animals, as cute as they are, and I love and adore them, they can be a big trip hazard and it can be unsafe. Have you pulled people's cords around the house before? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We should just put you on a mission to go collect cords for us because we never can find enough cords
Yeah.
and cables. I wanted to talk real quick about having places for people to sit. And sometimes there are events where they've only made room for standing, not for chairs. And there is a balance here. So you need to consider what the needs of your guests are. So my needs are for a place to sit down because I cannot stand for long periods of time. But if you have too much seating, it reduces the accessibility of being able to move mobility devices around. So there is a balance there, but do have some options for people to be able to sit down. Also, consider what their needs are, whether they need a soft surface to sit on or a more firm seat that can provide more support. Some people need that soft seating because of skin sensitivities, nerve issues, and some need that hard seating because if they get in too soft of a seat, it's hard for them to get up and get out of it, or it's not providing enough support. All right. Did you have anything to say, add?
So when everyone is standing around, it's hard to get through with a wheelchair.
Yeah.
But if you use a wheelchair, and this happens, my expert advice is to start hollering, move. Can't stop. Move.
She just hollers, move, stop. She's a jokester, to be honest.
Sure, the bathroom is big enough for a wheelchair.
Yeah, we want to make sure the bathroom is big enough. And what happens if the bathroom is not big enough for a wheelchair?
Guaranteed a hole in your wall.
You'll just bust a hole in the wall to make it accessible. We're just remodeling. We're good guests. I mean, it costs a lot to pay somebody to remodel.
Yeah.
You're doing it for free.
Yeah.
So you like visitability states, you want to have at least one bathroom on the main level that people can access. So the doorway would need to be about 32 inches wide. I recently attended a training session where the individual said it's okay to have 24-inch doors because some wheelchairs can get through that. And I cringed. I said, oh no, I wish they'd quit putting 24-inch doors in any space. Those are awful. And you really cannot get through those very easily in most mobility devices. And so I do not recommend that. Try to get 32-inch doors. There are swing away hinges that can expand the width of a door if need be. if you're not quite meeting that standard. Make sure you tell your guests where the bathroom is that's easiest to access. I know in my family, it's not common practice to use the master bathroom or the primary bathroom because that's considered a private space. And so if you go into someone's home, you're going to use the bathroom that's really considered the more public restroom. But the primary bathroom may be the restroom that's most accessible to those with mobility devices. And so if that's the case, let that guest know, hey, my bathroom in my room is the most accessible. So you feel free to go in there and use that restroom. Also, if you need to, you can go into the bedroom and shut that door so that when you go into the bathroom, you're not trying to shut the door in a smaller space. Just let them know what is okay, and so that they feel more comfortable and they don't feel like they're doing something that the host would not be agreeable to. Just take some of that anxiety away. And then also consider maybe adding a door pull, even if it's temporary for the event, adding something on a door that the individual can turn around and grab to pull the door closed. Hopefully, you know that lever door handles are pretty easy for most individuals to be able to open doors, but getting that door closed can be difficult. So there's different options that you can add, whether it's just some kind of cord or cable or some sort of bar that you can add to the door that they can grab and pull from a distance. Okay, so this is an example when we hosted Christmas at my house. We don't typically have this much furniture in the living room, but we wanted to make sure that everyone had access to a seat. So we rearranged the furniture so that it had a nice open floor plan in the middle. We put furniture around the perimeter so that everyone had a place to sit. The table in the middle we used during Dirty Santa so that the gifts didn't have to sit on the floor for people to bend over and have to pick up the gift. And that was a rolling cart. So we were able to keep that out of the way during the majority of the event, and we pulled it in and used it when we did Dirty Santa. And we had plenty of space in the middle for mobility devices and for people to navigate around. We tried to keep the floor pretty clear and provided enough seating. And of course, we had to provide a lap throughout the event for my pug. That is her accommodation. She always wants a lap to sit in. And oh, Laura's checking out that red and white. If I can find that, Laura, I'll send it to you. It's a good gift bag. It had a good gift in it too. So we just tried to keep that as open as possible. We put the Christmas tree in the position that it's in so that it was out of the flow of traffic as well. Okay, so when serving food, which I'll remind you is a big deal down here in the South. I'm sure it is up there, but I think we know how to feed people down here. Just when serving buffet style, I'd like for you to consider the following. Buffet style can be really difficult for individuals. It's nice when you get to pick out what you want on your plate, but it can be really difficult. It can get really crowded, and especially if you use a mobility device to try to reach things. If you're using a walker or rollator or a cane, you've got to have your hands on that device. So where do you put your plate when you're trying to put items on your dish? So there's a couple of things to consider. Try to set up your buffet in a way where the serving dishes are easy to reach. So not putting things way at the back of the counter What we did when we hosted, we actually used 2 tiers. So rather than having things dishes behind other dishes, we used the portable shelves so that we could have one casserole dish under another one, and that they were all close and easy to reach. But also consider leaving spaces throughout the buffet line where an individual can set their plate down so that they can put their plate down and then use the available hand to add food to their plate. If you have people coming that have food sensitivities, make sure you're letting them know what's in the dishes, and ask, if you're doing a potluck, ask everyone to please provide a list of ingredients so that an individual knows what they can put on their plate and safely eat. Know if they have food sensitivities that are really severe, let them know that there's a certain section of the buffet that has been kept away from everything else. There's no chance that the serving utensils are getting mixed up. So consider that. I really love it. I don't know about you. When the host has already wrapped up the utensils in the napkin.
Yeah.
And so that way, when you're going to grab your napkins, utensils, you're not having to grab a fork and a knife and a spoon and a napkin and try to do all of that and coordinate in one hand. So I just really like that. Not everyone might not like that. You do. Having a defined enter and exit to your buffet line. So what can happen, unfortunately, is it'll get really clustered, especially when everyone's trying to enter and leave in the same space. And so that makes it really difficult for wheelchairs and other mobility devices to get in. Or I've even had people tell me, a person who uses a wheelchair for mobility, she said, I got stuck. I couldn't get out of the buffet line because there were people coming in and they wouldn't let me through. And so I just sat there in the middle of the crowd and started eating my food because I couldn't get out. Also, using drink dispensers to serve drinks, because an individual can place their cup down underneath the spout, the spigot, and open it up. Is that helpful for you? So being able to put your cup down and then use the spigot to fill up a drink is far easier than trying to pour a 2-liter drink or a pitcher of sweet tea. It's easier to do that. You're gonna have less spills, and it's just more inclusive for everyone. And plus, I mean, being able to do that is inclusive because if you already have a plate in one hand and now you've got to fill up your drink, then it's easy to be able to set your drink down and use a spigot. And let your guests know, hey, I'm here to help. If anyone needs anything from the buffet line, or if you would like for me to fix your plate, if you would like to stay seated and I'll bring your plate to you, here's a list of all the things that we have available. Just tell me what you would like. Just offer that assistance and make it open floor. Don't target an individual unless you're really comfortable with that person, but just open floor. Hey, is there anything I can get anyone? Would you like me to fix your plate? Would you like anything, a drink? And just be a helpful host. Offer a variety of food styles. This one was a big one for you. So offering a variety of food styles, things that are easy to chew, things that are easy to hold, or things that are easy to scoop. So if you have someone who uses like an OB robot feeder to feed themselves, they need to have food that can be chopped up and scooped. But you like handhelds, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's a taco. No tacos, because they get really messy. And so it's nice to have a variety of things that everyone can grab something that they like. So if you're going to have salads, maybe also offer a couple of sliders for somebody that would prefer to have something that's easy to hold. Catherine says walking tacos. Those are good. Have you had those?
No.
Oh, they're good. You can do like a bag of corn chips and then you put all your taco toppings in there and then you eat out of the bag.
Oh,
Cool, isn't it?
yeah.
Not as messy as a taco. And then also make sure that you are providing tables and places for people to sit their items down to eat. So I know, like even I know in my home, I didn't have enough table space for everyone to sit down. We can maybe seat about well, we had people sitting at the bar too. So we had maybe like 12 seats for everyone. And a lot of people don't mind sitting on the couch to eat or in the recliner, but it's very helpful if you have some adjustable tables that you can place around for people to have a place to set their drink or to set their plate. Even some people might be okay eating their plate in their lap, but in order to get settled, they need a place to set their food down temporarily, or at least somewhere to put their drink. Okay, Nakisha, you're going to tell us about some other considerations.
Let's talk about some other considerations for various disabilities. If you have a guest with hearing difficulties, you could include closed captions if watching movies. You could host a captioning app for conversation. You could avoid turning the music up too loud, and you could even use or provide a voice amplifier. Poor vision needs you could brighten lights for people who can't see well in the dark, or you could dim lights if you have someone that has sensitivity to light. You could provide visual descriptions during activities. You can also let your guests know where a designated service animal relief area would be.
Just making them feel more comfortable with what they can do in the home.
Have guests who need to avoid certain triggers. For example, flashing lights can be harmful to those with seizure disorders or vision sensitivities. Strong scents can trigger debilitating migraines and allergies. I have a friend that wears cologne, and I told him, dude, I should not smell you before I see you. It's always good to have a designated quiet space for those who need to step away from the chaos.
Yeah, there's actually a really cool organization that started here in Birmingham that's called Culture City. And for these bigger events, they'll bring out some really cool devices. They have like an inflatable quiet room that they'll set up that has like beanbag chairs, bubble lights, like white noise, some really cool stuff. And you can actually contact them and see if they're able to come out to your events. It's really cool. So we have a comment from Amy about providing movies during the event. There's HBO Max has started offering ASL versions of some movies like Barbie and the new Godzilla Monsterverse. We noticed that the other day when we were perusing, trying to find something to watch, that Godzilla was already in ASL, which is awesome. Really glad to see that. And that would be cool to have available. Okay. Nakisha, what is everyone supposed to do if they don't know what to do for their guests?
Ask.
Just ask. So, you want to be a good host. You want people to enjoy coming to your events. You want people to feel included. You don't want to assume that they don't want to come because you don't know what accommodations to provide to make them comfortable. So if you don't know, just ask. Ask that individual or all of your party guests what would make y'all feel more comfortable coming to this event. The question we had, what was the name of the vendor with the portable quiet rooms? That is called Culture City, and that is with a K. Kulture, Culture City. Okay, so finally, what I wanted to point out, you're on a webinar hosted by an Assistive Technology Act program. Your speakers are from an Assistive Technology Act program. So obviously, I'm going to plug our services because you can contact your local lending libraries if your state has one through your Assistive Technology Act program, which most of them do, and see if they have assistive technology that you can borrow for your events, because you can borrow technology as a temporary accommodation to use for your events to make them more inclusive. Thank you, Laura. Laura posted the website for that. It is at3center.net. And some examples of stuff that we have in our library. We have adaptive kitchen tools. We have some accessible board games, and we even have adaptive video game controllers. We do have some portable ramps. We have different options for lighting. We even have some of the smart lighting that you can set. We do have Ubi Duos, which allow somebody with hearing loss to communicate with others. So you can type and communicate on the screen. We also have captioning apps. We've added, most recently, we've added the Isla and the Caption Companion, which live caption, and they're pretty accurate. They do really well. And the Caption Companion really has become one of our favorites because it doesn't even require internet. So it's really nice. It's just installed on a tablet. It's easy to take and go. It even has microphones, Bluetooth microphones that come with it. So it's easy to use for different events. We have adapted toys. So if you want to provide entertainment to younger individuals, there are adapted toy options. And we also have communication devices if that's something that would benefit, I guess, if they don't have their own communication device, or the setup an event is going to make it difficult for them to communicate, even if they typically verbalize, but they would need some support during an event. So, is there anything else, Nakisha?
Our program's contact information if you want to know more about anything we talked about today.
So thank you to WisTech. We so appreciate you, Laura, for hosting us. We do have a newsletter that we send out information on that you can email us, and we will get you added to that newsletter. And this is just if you have questions about what you heard about today or any questions or comments. We really appreciate everybody's input. It was really helpful. I think we'll be able to have some extra things that we add the next time we're able to talk about accessible party planning. And follow us on social media. Laura, do you have anything you want to add, or are there any more questions?
This was fantastic. I am not a big party hoster, so this kind of got me in the mood. So maybe, maybe I should entertain like they do on HGTV. Anyway, I do see Beth has her hand raised. I don't know if you want to go ahead and just pop that in the chat for us. But we'd welcome, we've got a few minutes here. So encourage folks to ask any questions that they have, or any other ideas that that maybe Ashley and Nakita didn't share that they'd love to learn as well. So we'll give it a few moments here to see if we've got Maybe Beth is able to type that into the chat. So we've got some hand clapping going on.
Woo, good group. Awesome.
I loved the food suggestions. So our office does a lot of event planning as far as conferences or one-day trainings or council meetings. And we've had to provide a lot of education within our department, just even things as such as if you're having a buffet, you need actual real plates and silverware versus the paper plates and the I mean, I hate plastic anyway, but from an accessibility standpoint, our paper plates are pretty flimsy.
Yes.
And I don't know, I'm sure I'm not the only one that has used a fork to get into something from a buffet and all the tines break off. So by providing real plates and silverware, that is an accommodation. And, you know, I work for the state and we've had, you know, sometimes procurement will come back and say, you know, your caterer is having real silverware listed. And we say, well, that's an accommodation. We need to provide that. So I'm excited to share all the other tips. I've never thought of like, you should have space between so you could set something down. Yeah. And then the options of, you have one thing that can be held, one thing that can be used with the silverware. Yeah, those were really great ideas and I can't wait to pass those along internally here and with our partners.
We could probably collaborate and come up with all like a whole presentation on just accessible accessible buffets. We actually just came back from a conference last week, and at breakfast time I had stopped and gotten me coffee at the coffee shop and then showed up and they had breakfast buffet line. And so I'm trying to hold my coffee in one hand and I had nowhere to set my plate down to scoop eggs or whatever from the buffet line. I mean, it's just inclusive for everyone to have those spaces. And plus they had it in the wrong order. They had all the toppings for your eggs before you actually got to the eggs. So there's a lot of thought that can go into setting up a buffet line.
Maybe they didn't have a clear entry and exit like you suggest.
They didn't.
So maybe you ended up coming in the wrong way. But I was just at a similar event where my friend was grabbing like the cookies and the coffee, and then here she is. So she's like, hands me the plate with the cookies so she can get to the coffee. Yeah, those are great.
Yeah.
We do a couple.
Yeah, and I typically even try to put the utensils for the individual at the end of the line so they're not trying to fumble and hold their utensils and napkins with their plate as they're serving. One of the solutions, if paper plates are the only option, is to have some of those inexpensive chargers, the plastic card chargers or the real ceramic chargers that can go under a paper plate so that the dirty plate can still be thrown away and then you have those chargers that can be reused underneath it. And that gives you that hard surface to be able to cut through food or so that your plate's not so flimsy.
Okay, yeah, and I'm not picturing what do you mean by charger? That term is unfamiliar to me.
It's usually set up
In terms
during,
of food.
like I don't know, does somebody else have a different name for it?
Is it like a little tray?
Yeah, it's like an extra little plate that usually goes under a place setting. So it's like a bigger part of the place setting that goes underneath and it holds the plate.
And you're from the South, which is a little
Yeah,
more formal than
usually-
the North. And I don't entertain. So yes, I can picture now what you're referring to. Thank you. You've got a plate under a plate. Yes.
Yes, Kathleen said it's usually used as more decorative, but it can actually be used to add support under a paper plate as well.
And my mom did that growing up because she did host a lot of dinner parties and big events at our house. So I just must have blacked all of that out.
It's because we're used to having more outdoor events in the South.
Yeah.
Where you got to walk around with your plate and you got the big rack of ribs you got to be able to put on there. Yeah, it provides the extra support.
Well, great. So if there aren't any other questions, I just wanted to say again, thank you very, very much for your time, both of you. Love your humor, Nakisha. It's perfect.
We have so much fun.
It's very clear, so that's wonderful. Just a reminder that there should be a survey that pops up after we close the webinar, but you'll also get an email tomorrow with that survey. So if you miss it or have to rush off, you will get it in an email. In there, if you're wanting CEUs and CRCs, you will need to complete the short questions at the end and then verify your attendance. And I send those out within a month. So if it is August 17th and you have not gotten your CRC or CEU and you think you should have, then you can email me. And then there's also a link to the handouts, a PDF of their presentation. And our next session will be in August, and that will be on AI and ethics. So should be an interesting topic with the speaker from Canada. So again, hope everyone has a great rest of your week. And thank you both. This was great. So take care, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.